All right, good morning. Well, it's still morning. It's 11. It feels 11 o'clock here anyway. It feels much earlier than that. Worked a closing shift last night, which means I got home at 4 o'clock this morning. Got up at 8, so I'm a little bit tired. Hopefully that doesn't affect me trying to model this too much. So what I'm doing today is I've been printing parts for one of my designs on Thingiverse. And I'll get the webcam close-up going here. And let's hide that chat window for now. There's nobody here. There we go. All right. So I've been printing parts. You can see these are my first successful prints. There's a wheel and a tire. The tire needed some supports, and it left some artifacts on the inside, but it's the inside of the tire. I'm not really worried about it. It'll be facing the inside of the model. The part that we're going to work on today is this part, because the way the orientation that I printed it in, I think the this piece here, the axle, could have been stronger. I attempted to insert it into the tire and into the wheel rather, and it bound up on the wheel. I guess there was a little too much junk on here that I should have cleaned up with a file first, and so the wheel grabbed the axle, and then in process of trying to get it back off, I snapped this piece off the axle. But it gave me some ideas, something to try, which should make this part, well, this whole part as a whole, unnecessary. What I'm going to do is I'm going to separate this piece and print it out individually, and then it'll just be glued onto the piece I'm printing over here, which, get my chat window back up so I can see it in case somebody pops in. This piece I'm printing over here, which I'll take you guys off the top of the monitor here so you can see. Try and hold my hand steady on 4 hours sleep. It's not as steady as it could be. But the piece that I'm printing there, which this is also the first time I've tried printing more than one piece at a time. So I'm going to test several parts of the design. But you can see the regular flat panel with no axles is printing now, along with the frame connector pieces and the pins to connect it all together. That's what I'm printing at the moment. And then what I'm going to iterate on this design, get you guys back up on top of the monitor. What I'm get the printer in frame there. So what I'm iterating on the design is I'm going to separate this piece so that it can just be glued onto one of the regular flat pieces. Should make it easier to print, because then I should be able to print it in this orientation here, which will eliminate the need for supports. Good morning, James, or evening, wherever you're at, where you're at, I think, isn't it? So, going to fix that. That should allow me to print it without supports and allow me to eliminate some of those issues and hopefully make the axle a little stronger. We'll separate it out and we'll try it. We'll see. So, get you guys back on my screenshot here, and then getting all these windows organized. All right, so We're going to take the truck, and the piece that we're concerning ourselves with today is that piece right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it on its own layer here in Blender. James Bird, what's going on, man? Which I still haven't solved the issue why every time I slice something, it's off center to the right. My build volume is correct on Kira. It's 150 by 150 by 150. And it stops where it's supposed to on this edge. But on this edge, it starts printing like 25 millimeters in. I can't go edge to edge on the build plate, which when you only have 150 millimeters cubed build volume, losing like 25 millimeters sucks. I'm going to have to try to figure that out, because there's a couple parts that when I get to them, unless I want to slice them into a whole bunch of pieces, it is not going to be printable there. Pre-evening. Yeah, and this is just on a little temporary plastic table that I set up over here. You can see my redneck spool holder in the background, which I still got some stuff to do on it, but my hacksaw blade gave up the ghost on me while I was making this. So I got these little legs for this side, for the other side rather, that I still need to cut out of the longer piece. Right now I just stuck the longer piece in there, and it's stable. This was $5 worth of PVC at the hardware store, and that way I don't have to sit here and manually take filament off of the spool anymore. Chris, good morning, buddy. How you doing? Awesome. Yes, man, that would help me immensely. Actually, I probably just should have emailed you when I, when I had the problem. So yeah, that would be incredible to get the full build volume back on the printer. Scalda, how you doing, man? So yeah, we're iterating the design on the axle. If you weren't here earlier, I printed it successfully, but man, this thing took a long time to print and had a whole bunch of support material. And so my plan to fix it is going to involve making these pieces here separate pieces that'll have to be glued onto just the flat plates that didn't have the axle design. So I'm going to separate just this piece and make it one piece, so that when you print it, you just print a couple of those, which let me just show them on this end. Print a couple of those, and they shouldn't need support printed in that orientation, and it should make it better. So the first thing I'm going to do, and excuse me if I'm yawning, I got in early. I had a closing shift last night, got in at 4 a.m. and my wife called me at 8 a.m. and woke me up to go deal with some stuff at the bank. And so I was going to start streaming as soon as I got up, but I had to go run and do some stuff. I'm so happy to be printing stuff. You have no idea. In case you weren't here earlier, that is a tire and wheel that has been successfully printed. Looks pretty nice. My design requires a little bit of support because of the rounded sidewall of the tire, and the supports don't come off that clean. I guess I could sand them, but you know, the way I've got the wheel oriented, it's facing the inside of the model anyway. It's not really that big a deal. I don't know how long I'll be streaming for sure. I know I got to go pick my son up at, I got to leave to pick up my son from school at 1:30. It is 11:09 here, so definitely be done with it by then. But otherwise, I'm going to, you know, I'll sit here and chat with you guys as long as I can, and as long as you're willing to listen. And the design iteration shouldn't take me too long, I don't think, because all I'm really basically doing is here. So what I did there, that's clicking on the vertice mode, edit mode. I'm going to hit Z to go into wireframe view. I'm trying to be better about explaining what I'm doing, like step by step, so that if you guys want to learn to do this stuff and try it yourselves, you can. I hit the B key on the keyboard. That's a box select. And so I'm going to select all the vertices that aren't part of just the one axle piece, which I think those vertices are. All right. And I'm going to hit delete vertices. Hit Z again to come out of wireframe mode. And now we can see there's the axle isolated all by itself. Now, in order to make it a manifold piece again, I'm going to have to close off that hole. Best way I can think to do that is I went into the edge mode here, and I'm going to select those edges. You hit the F key, and it makes a face. See, so it made a face between the two edges I selected. Which, oops, wait. No, I think, no, that'll be fine. Select those two edges, hit F to make a face. Those two edges, F. Those two edges, F. 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 And F. Alright, what might cause me a problem is that after I deleted that stuff out, I no longer had that center edge running through the middle there to connect to and make a face with. So it might cause a manifold problem right here, because what you have is you have two faces trying to join one, and that often creates a manifold issue here. We will see. So I'm in the 3D printing tab here. The version of Cura I have is 2.3.1. That is the last version they made for a 32-bit operating system. And I know that's an old version. I would like to be able to use a newer version, but that will have to wait till I get a new computer. All right, so we went to the 3D printing tab here, which is the 3D printing toolbox, which is a free add-on you can add to Blender. And you click this check all button right here, and we have 6 non-manifold edges, and sure enough, that's exactly what I thought it would be. It's the edges that where that connects. All right. Let's undo that. Let's go to face. Let's delete this face and delete this face. So yeah, down here, these 3 little things, these 3 little buttons here. This one is vertex select mode, so it allows you to select individual vertices, or if you hold down shift and select more than one vertice, or if you want to grab multiple vertices, you would hit like the B to do a box select, or C to do a circle select, and it, as long as you hold down the button, grabs whatever vertices you drag the mouse over. And then this is edge select mode, which you would be able to select all the same ways, using the B to do a box select, or C to do a circle select. So how I'm going to try to fix this, and sometimes it usually works out well, is to select individually every edge along that. And now when I hit face, it should include each individual edge there in that face. Because the way I did it before, when I only selected this one and this one, it made a 4-sided face. And technically, it's a 5-sided face because of the dividing line there. So I'm creating an N-gon. N-gon is any shape with more than 4 sides, but it doesn't seem to affect things too bad as long as your part is manifold. Sometimes you have some issues and you have to go back and redo it. But all right, so I selected all 5 individual edges, hit F to make face, and now we'll go back over and check all again. As you can see, we eliminated our non-manifold edges. All right, so here is the piece now that I think I should be able to just print this piece out and orient it so that the axle is pointed up, and I should be able to print that, I think, because I mean that would be some very, very minor bridging. I think I'd be able to print that with no support at all, and it would be okay. Yeah, James Bird. I bought the computer I'm using now is it's an HP workstation, the XW8600, and I bought it as a refurb unit back in 2008. It's got a quad-core Xeon in it and everything, but it only came with a 32-bit version of Windows. So it's a machine capable of running 64-bit Windows, but in order to upgrade to 64-bit Windows, you can't just run an upgrade like you would on, upgrading to a different version, like from Windows 7 to Windows 10. You can't just run an upgrade. You've got to, because you're changing the at the very kernel level from a 32-bit to a 64-bit. Only way to do it without error is to completely wipe the drive and start over. And there are so many things on this computer that I don't want to lose, and I would never be able to back it all up because it's 10 years old, and my best bet is just to move forward with another machine. And so that's the plan. It's in the future. I still plan on buying a little bit larger 3D printer first. I'm really tempted to this weekend to order an Ender 3, and then in June when I get my royalty payment from BMI to order the AlphaWise, and then I would have, as I mentioned once before, a small, a medium, and a large printer, and that way I could have 3 printers going at once. Have the small one cranking out things like wheels and tires and things like that, because it handles wheels and tires like a champ. And have a small one cranking out wheels and tires, and have the medium one cranking out, some of the smaller body pieces, and then for these models, and have the big one cranking out the big body pieces. But yeah, I know when Chris contacted me about this printer, and he said it's not a good printer, but I know it's not, buttery smooth like the Prusa Mark III or anything like that, but the quality is perfect for what I'm doing. It really is. I don't need it to be, perfect, because the primary thing that I'm doing with 3D printing is beta testing my designs so that I can make better designs for people. When I put them up on Thingiverse, they will be able to trust my designs, print them out, and just put them together. And as you can see by the fact that I'm having to iterate this one, it's not there yet. But the plan is, being able to print the stuff out, I will be able to test it myself. But I think I'm going to continue doing things the way that I have been, and that's making a design, going ahead and releasing the design to the public. If somebody wants to download it and print it
I guess at their own risk, they can help me beta test it. And, you know, and as I get a chance, get the opportunity, you know, time on the printer, filament, etc., to print out the design and test it myself, I'll be able to make changes. I had to iterate the wheel already because the wheel was the first thing I printed out, and here's the first one I printed. Now on this side, it looks great, but there was a problem with my model that there was a face on the inside of the wheel that was too thin, and so the G-code was ignoring it, and I didn't do my due diligence with the slicer. I did not go through and look at it, you know, layer by layer in the slicer before I printed it, because I was just too excited to be printing something. So I sliced it, I printed it, and as you can see, there's no center in this one because it printed the center about 2/3 of the way up, and then it hit that face that was too thin and just ignored it. And so the next thing it did was print more support material and then print the inside part of the wheel. So I went back in and I thickened up the inside of the wheel, which has made the wheel even more rigid. And I mean, this one's plenty strong enough for a toy. It's, I mean, you can see it squeezing it. It's not flexing hardly at all. But it's made it even more rigid. It added 4 minutes to the print time. It took just over half an hour to print the wheel. The tire took a long time because it was bigger and all those tread details and stuff. The tire took quite a while. This thing, because of the way it was designed, which is another reason I wanted to go back and change it, I printed it on the build plate like this. Now, because of these standoffs here, it had to fill this entire area in under here with supports, but it was less support than printing it this way because this is a taller area. And so it was the lesser of two evils. My other option that would have been less supports was to try to risk printing it on end, but I wasn't quite there. So I wasn't quite comfortable being so new at this, trying to print it on edge like that. It would have been faster, less support material, but I don't know. I don't know how that would have, the end result would have came out, just because there wouldn't have been that much for the bed to adhere to, as thin as this piece is. So going back and redesigning it now, the flat pieces that I'm printing right now will be what the new axle is designed just to literally you dab a glue on the inside of the on the inside of this this ridge here. We'll dab a glue in there and just slide it onto this flat piece. The flat piece doesn't take nearly as long to print. It doesn't require supports. So I think that's the way to go. It's going to be, it'll take less time, less plastic, just a little more glue, you know, and the designs are going to have to be glued anyway. So I'm going to go back over here. Let's finish this up. I'm going to save. I am going to copy that. Oh, there we go. Okay. Paste it in here. And export it as an STL. And that was under MVS Truck. And we're going to call it Axle V2. Let's do an underscore in there. V2. All right. Export STL. Oh, wait. Ha. Again, almost forgot. So for some reason, when you're exporting, it doesn't keep scale right. You have to multiply everything before you export it in Blender by 1,000 in order for it to maintain its scale. It's weird. You know, I'll use the measure it tool, and the measure it tool says it's spot on, but if you just export it the way it is, it's teeny tiny. So scale times 1,000, axle V2, export STL. So now we'll go over here, axle V2, open it up in Cura. You'll see that lovely Cura 2.3.1 popping up here in a minute. There it is, 2.3.1. Yeah, everybody kept telling me to check my in Cura, check my build volume that I had designated, but the profile that I set up, and I did it all on my own, so I'm sure I messed all sorts of things up. There's probably a lot of settings that could be done better because I was just winging it. But it definitely, I have it set to 150 by 150 by 150. Yeah, James, man, if you got it, I'm open to all ideas. Chris is going to send me some screenshots, he said, of where I need to change some stuff. So setting my home point or whatever it was that he said. See, I'm so new at this. I don't know what. I know he said he's going to help me. That's that's where I'm at, and I'm like, cool. I'm excited, and he's already helped me so much. This not only would I not have this machine right now, this machine would not be running without Chris Riley, because if you watch the live stream in which I set it up and attempted to print for the first time, it was essentially a live stream of Chris popping in and me going, okay, what do I do next? Because I don't know. No, origin to center is not clicked. I can show you. There's the settings, printer, manage printers, Trunks EX1, machine settings. So yeah, machine center is 0 is unchecked. Heated bed is unchecked. All this stuff. The only thing I messed with this trying to see if that was originally set to 20 millimeters. I set it to 0, hoping that was my problem and it would start printing over, but that didn't seem to make any difference. I don't know why the gantry height is all 9s. That was as it was default, and it seems to be working, so I left it alone. But yeah, you can see my width, depth, and height are all set to 150. And then the print head settings, that like I said, when by default for some reason that was 20 millimeters, and again, I don't know what any of these settings actually do or mean, and I was just trying stuff that was originally set to 20 millimeters. I set it back to 0 and was hoping that would get me my 20 millimeters or so of the bed that was missing, and it didn't seem to affect anything. So anyway, we've got this. Let's stand it up on its end. Come on now. Not wanting to rotate. There we go. Stand it up on its end. See if it slices. Slicing. View mode, layers. Scroll in a little bit. Let's go down here. This is what I did not do with the other, was check this part. So yeah, it's going to have to bridge down here. Rotate that around. Or have that supported. Either way. Right now it's got supports turned on. But I don't think that's too extreme of a bridge, but it doesn't look like it's enough support material to worry about anyway. It looks like I can snap that out pretty easy. You know, another thing that might make this more rigid, might make it better. I'm going to go back into Blender and I'm going to change something else. About this. I'm going to make less of this space here. I think that might be too much, and it's compromising the rigidity. I think that will be enough to give me the deflection I need to press that piece in, and I may actually take that and scale it in a little bit, make that a little less pronounced. I'm thinking it might be a better idea to thicken up the whole axle too, this whole shaft, to make it wider. But then that's also going to mean I'm going to have to modify the wheel again. I think I can fix, if I do that, I think I can keep this wheel and not scrap it by taking a drill and drilling out the inner diameter there a little bit and still make it a usable wheel, and then just have to change the design on the wheel in the future. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think that the axle here looks too thin? Am I going to run into problems snapping that off all the time just because it's so thin? Thank you, James. I appreciate that, man. Which I stopped by the hardware store yesterday. That's when I bought the PVC piping that I made my redneck spool holder out of. And I bought myself a nice little set of cutters, flush cutters. And I went to get myself a nice little set of needle nose pliers for helping me remove support materials, and these two came in a set together. So, and they're really nice. They're Crescent brand. These work like a champ. Removing the supports on this, I mean, I snapped those supports out in just literally seconds. Versus I was trying to dig the supports out of this with a box cutter, and I even hit it a little bit with a screwdriver, just trying to get some of the initial thicker parts of the thing broke, and I had a dickens of a time removing those supports. So I'm hoping now having a good little set of needle nose pliers and some flush cutters is going to make my life easier. Let's see. It says we got 3 watching. All right, so yeah, I might try thickening this whole thing up, bringing the wheel over here too. And what's it look like if I thicken the whole thing up about that? Oh, that is because scaling it also scaled those out. Grab those, move them back out flush here. All right. Yeah, James, I can make you a mod. Add moderator. I trust you. I trust you not to get drunk with power. All right, so let's go back to. Let's save this. Let's go ahead and save this as MVS axle. And we'll put that under the components tab. And then we will open. Whoops, not the bus. Although that's the piece I need, so I'll just copy it out of there. Yes, axle. Paste. Z, move it down to here. Get it roughly centered up there. Y. Okay, when I scaled that out, it did mess with tab. That one back to here. I will check that out. Cool. Yeah, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, and I just left the stuff that I didn't understand default. And I can understand where the default isn't necessarily the best on some programs. Scale that in. And scale just these 2 points back out. See, so this shape you see here is the inside of the wheel. And I thought about making my wheel so that when you pushed it through, there was just a hole here and you could see that end. But I wanted to hide it if I could. And so I capped that in. But that may end up not being as feasible as I wanted it to be. Which actually, I think, scale that in more. I think that'll be enough because it's not going to have a lot of load on it this way. It's not like, you know, not building like an RC car or anything like that where there's going to be a lot of load on it. It just has to snap in there well enough not to pull out. But now where we're going to have to modify the wheel, so now I believe we're going to have so I'm going to go into Edge Select, and if you hold the Alt key while on Edge Select, that will select a ring, so any piece that's continuously connected together, it will select the whole thing. And so right there, I selected that ring. And then just like any other selection thing on most programs, if you hold down Shift, you'll select more. So Shift and Alt, I'll select another ring. I'm trying to get all these inner rings here. So Shift, Alt, click, and click. Okay, so that's all of the inner rings. So I need to scale them outward. To be slightly larger than the smaller diameter of our axle, which would be easier if my wheel was actually centered. It is not. I haven't looked at my print in a minute. My redneck spool holder still holding up, doing its thing. And it looks like the print is going well. So I'll go over and click on translate this page. Go ahead and click on James's link here. Okay, I will make those adjustments. So X and Y are actually 140. Although at 150 I haven't had, other than the X being starting printing too far off to one side there. All right, so okay, that would be awesome, man. Because I know the stuff that that you had included pre-sliced on the SD card, Chris, was it was printing in the middle, and that's how I knew it had to be a something I was doing wrong in the slicer, or why I figured it was something I was doing wrong with the slicer, because the stuff that was included on the SD card that you sent along was printing in the middle. Yeah, I've already learned that I got to be careful with those clips. They get in my way when I'm leveling the bed. But yeah, James, or not James, Chris, sorry, Chris, after that the stream where you helped me get this thing operational, and I was having all those adhesion issues, I removed the build plate and I took it to the sink and I washed it with soap and hot water and scrubbed it down real good, and then got all the residue off of it, and then I hit it with a Scotch-Brite pad and then washed it again, and then applied fresh glue stick to it, and I haven't had any adhesion issues since. Things stick down great, and I actually kind of like this build surface, and it's a little bit flexible. So I take, whenever I had that this larger part and it had so much surface area stuck to the bed, I removed the clips, took the bed off, and just flexed it a little bit, and the part cracked right off. So how many of you have followed suit with Tom, and instead of calling it slicer, call it Slick 3R, because he was tired of saying slicer, the slicer. So he just started calling it Slick 3R. Which I downloaded it at one point, and my computer didn't like it at all. The program kept crashing completely. So I don't know what was happening there. I'm trying to center that up better so I can eyeball the scale better on that. Well, because I had applied fresh glue stick to the plate when we tried it the first time, but it was over the top of the old crud that was on there, and I think that was what was causing the problem. And a little scrubbing and soap and hot water, and it all came right off. That's the beauty of glue stick being water soluble. So I don't know which one is out of circle here, because it's touching the circle here and not touching the circle here. So one of these has gotten out of kilter. All right, so that's modifying the wheel and the axle to make the axle thicker and the opening in the wheel wider. And like I said, I think, because all I did was change just the inner diameter, I think I'll be able to save this wheel by taking a drill and just boring out the center there. But I think that's what we're going to try, is we're going to try taking, or save this, take this, we'll copy, new, delete, paste, file, export, STL, MVS Truck, wheel, can't type today, 3.5 hours of sleep is not agreeing with me, wheel version 3, scale 1000, export, open recent, axle, copy, new, delete, paste, file, export STL, MVS Truck, axle, underscore version 3, export. So when this print gets done, the next thing I'll do is print an axle and a wheel and see if they work together. And I can probably fit them both on one print. Just take a little longer. Checking the progress of this print over here, it's going well. We're at 45%. Later, James. I could go a step farther than a hairdryer. So yeah, something I'll show you while you're here. We were talking the other day about the step van has kind of become my unofficial mascot. It's because one of the first things I built, now this was years ago, mind you, and this thing has fallen in some hard times. One of the first things I built when I was trying to make my own stuff, I actually designed and built a step van because it was an easy shape. Designed and built a step van out of foam board that I got from the Dollar Tree, which I need to make a new roof for it because the roof got destroyed the last time we moved and I just never got around to it. And I lost one of the wheels too, so I was like, I need new wheels for it and everything. But yeah, so I designed and built this out of foam board I bought from the Dollar Tree, and it's actually quite rigid. It's got a little door that opens and everything. Painted it up. Interior. It lost the dashboard stuff that I had built for it. There was a dash pod in there that had a steering wheel on it, and all of it was built from like cheap scrap. Yeah, I'm so thrilled, man, with this printer. This is awesome. Looks like one corner of this plate is curling up a little bit, but as long as doesn't curl up too bad of this piece here, I think it'll be salvageable. It's I might need to scrub the build plate again, but yeah. So that's how the step van came to be, like an unofficial mascot for me, because I built this one out of foam board. And so one of the first things I sat down to design when I decided to design some 3D models to print was I sat down and made a 3D model of a step van. Just got a little seat in there and everything. You can put a figure in it. It sits in there. It's to scale. It's fun. So yeah, I've always been somebody who likes to make crafts and tinker and things like that. And so, and before I had access to a 3D printer and before I had as much experience modeling stuff as I do even now, I was building all my stuff out of foam board and balsa wood and you know, and I think this is going to be a much better way to do it. So I'm so excited and thrilled to get to do this, and I hope the enthusiasm comes across, because this is amazing to me. This is awesome, and I'm already hooked, man. From the moment I held this wheel that my design was flawed in my hand, I was like, the design may be flawed, but the print was pretty perfect. So I iterated the design, printed it again, and it printed excellently again. Wheels and tires seem to be great on this thing. It likes circles. It likes small circles. So that's why I said when I get more printers, you know, I may order myself an Ender 3 here soon, and then eventually an Alpha Wise, and then I'll have a small, medium, and a large. When I get to that point, I'll probably use this for primarily printing wheels, tires, the frame connectors, the little pieces, and then it can just keep firing away, making the little parts that would otherwise tie up the larger machines, you know, for a couple hours at a time, and they could print larger things that take longer. Yeah, I'm having a great time, man. And I'm gonna have to go ahead and probably cut this off. I thought I was gonna go longer, but my wife keeps trying to call me, so so she must want something, and so I probably need to cut this thing off and call her back. But I appreciate you guys popping in. You can see what I've iterated today. So the third version of the wheel, but like I said, I think I can convert version 2 of the wheel into version 3 just by drilling out the center a little bit, and I've got a drill and plenty of drill bits, so it'll just be a matter of when I print out the next wheel, I'll be able to set the drill bit in the hole and see exactly what the size is, and grab the right drill bit for it, and then just drill that out and save that, because all I did was change the inner diameter on that hole right there. So I think this wheel will be salvageable, and I won't have to print another one. And if I do have to print another one, you know, the wheel only takes about 31 minutes to print, but it I didn't want to waste the filament if I don't have to, because I still need to go order some. I'm still using what Walter sent me, and I don't want to burn through it all and not have any more ready to go. Yep. So thank you guys, and appreciate y'all as always. And I will keep doing this. I will keep iterating designs. I will keep printing them out, and I look forward to completing some of these projects that I've designed, and sharing it with you guys. And Chris, man, this is all of this up to this point has been made possible by you and this amazing little machine that you have so graciously given to me. Thank you guys very much. I will see you all around, and we'll keep doing this, man. We'll keep having, I hope you guys are enjoying what you're seeing. I hope it's not, too dull. I know I'm, sometimes watching somebody else work on the computer is like, watching paint dry, but I'll try to keep it as entertaining as I can, and as informative as I can, so that you guys can, learn something. And I look forward to you guys, dipping your toe in the water with Blender. Download it, try it, and it's fun. It's not as hard as it looks. And if you do download it, reach out to me. Let me know. There's a couple things in the settings that you'll want to tweak to make your life easier, because for some reason, Blender, it basically inverts, by default, it inverts the mouse buttons from what you think it should be. Like select something is right clicking it, and it's annoying. So there's settings you can change in the program to make the mouse buttons a little more normal, so that left clicking stuff is selecting it. Once I found out that I could do that, man, my process of designing stuff moved forward light years. And yeah, anyhow, appreciate you guys. We'll see y'all in the next one, and I'll catch you guys in your streams when you do them. I love live streaming. I love the interaction. I love hanging with you guys. So anyone that stumbles on this later, I know everybody watching right now is subscribed, but anyone that stumbles on this later, if you're not subscribed, please do so. If you want to, continue to see more of the designs